So last season, we actually crowned off a very successful first campaign in charge of the club, reaching a Europa Conference League semi-final and very, very narrowly going out in the end to Leicester City, second place in the league by a clear 9 points. Still a lot of ground to gain up to FC Copenhagen, and I really don't think that gap gets much smaller this season, but you never know. And of course, a cup semi-final to go with it as well. The squad building is going well, but hopefully today we can take some more steps, as we've got a little bit of cash, not a lot. It might well be bargain basement for us today, but provided I don't melt by the time we get to the end of this video, hopefully we should have some lovely transfers to talk about by the end of it. As always, if you have been enjoying the series up to this point, do be sure to smash the like button. That would be fantastically helpful up the algorithm. Ultras, if we could get 300, that would be very nice indeed. Now, we have to talk about this, and that is the current financial situation of the club. Now, this is our current situation as far as what we can personally spend. Finances are actually really stellar. 9.3 essentially million quid available in the bank. Now the board have given us virtually none of that money to actually use to strengthen the squad, because God forbid we actually achieve anything at this club. But I'm hoping that if we have a solid campaign this year, it might be similar to how it was with Tromsø, where once we finally got that first really solid campaign, they did actually open up and give us a nice whack of change to deal with. Now the way that kind of helped with Tromsø was when they sold Michael Indestad out from underneath us, got us a lot of extra cash in the bank, which the board allowed me to reinvest, and that really was an absolute kickstarter for us. Now we don't have the luxury of that, but we do have the luxury of being able to do a load more bargain shopping. Now, the reason I started on this menu is because we have 700 grand in transfer budget, we have 20k in wage budget. Originally it was 1.5 million, but in order to actually have any money to sign the player with contracts, we had to obviously move that around a little bit. So it's still not a lot of money. If anything, it feels like less than last year, and that really is saying something, that we could achieve all that and get less money than we did the previous season. But we did also have Europa League that year, so there you go. However, we have already got 2 signings ready to go, which of course you would have already seen, but I'll quickly run you through them now in case you missed it. So firstly of those is Ronnie Shusmo, who is a Danish goalkeeper, will be joining us from Midtjylland on a free transfer. He's going to be the backup to Sylvain Caron. Nothing special. He's not on huge amounts of money. I think his contract's on 1.2k a week. Nothing particularly outrageous there. So happy to bring him in just to give us some support behind Caron, because as good as he's been, it just takes one goalkeeping injury, as we've seen in the past with Mathias Johansson and the like. One goalkeeping injury and all hell can break loose. So I wanted to have a young upstart, really, to sort of fill that cap. And the other signing is Frankie Williams, of course, also of TNS. He'll be joining his former teammate Joe Pritchard here too, so there's already a connection between those two, hopefully. And for 12,000 quid, or 13k, which was the release clause, I felt like it was too good to turn down, because he can play in both of these positions. We needed that extra depth in those positions. We're particularly going to lose Nordi and Abid as well, most likely this summer, so it will be kind of like for like with these guys. And I feel like he's better than Nordi and Abid anyway. Different type of player, of course, but I think we'll do a little bit of look at the squad depth to see where we really need to be looking. But honestly, I kind of already have a pretty good idea of where we want to be looking in this window. Whether we find it or not is a different matter entirely. I mean, you can really see where we lack, and that's goalkeeper, but luckily we've already fixed that problem, so it's one less thing to worry about. It's the wide areas. It really, really is. Because as far as I know, Ilse, when's his contract up? His contract is up as well. We're going to lose both players here unless I can do something about it. Now, I'd be tempted to maybe offer Rene Ilse a contract extension. The problem is both him and Abid, as we've got closer and closer to the date, have started demanding even more money, and you kind of get to a point where you're like, is it worth it? And I really don't think it is. Both of them now want 11,000 quid a week. You're not that good, lads. The midfield is decent, but again, it could still cost us. Now, a lot of the players in there are new signings, so that's definitely helped us with the likes of Silla and Jokanovic and Diaz technically, although they're both defenders, which shows you the lack of depth we still technically have there. But we do also have the likes of Abule, and I think there is definitely some quality players in there, plus Frankie Williams will be joining that group of players too. So it's not too bad, but it could still do with being better. We have got some youth players that hopefully will make use of that. I still, for the moment, want to keep Liskov being a central midfielder, but I can definitely see the reasons for making him a wing-back as well. But at least we do have Kaibinger, who's being trained to play as a wing-back too. Thing is, Liskov, no matter where we train him, that man literally cannot play a single match for us until he turns 16. And I thought, well, he came through in March. How long could it be? November. The man doesn't turn 16 until November. When he came through our youth academy, being as good as he was closer to 14 than he was 15. To give you an idea of just how talented potentially this young man can be. So we may well have a world beater on our hands, yeah, just can't do much with him. As for the Strikeforce, of course, Pritchard is tied down. Lindstrom, we've got on loan, and I would like to try and extend that loan if Bayern Munich are feeling extra benevolent, because actually I think Lindstrom's done a really solid job for us this season. Berge Hansen, he's still happy to be here, and I'm happy to have him here because I've actually really enjoyed his work over the past season and a half. Carlson, I really want to keep him, and I feel like we may have to take the plunge of giving him a new contract before the 6-month window comes along, and we could potentially lose him at the Christmas period. It is really, really difficult. Wingbacks, absolutely important. Strikers, maybe not. If we can extend Lindstrom and tie Carlson down, I actually would be quite happy with that. And then it's just a case of filling out the squad with whatever we can find. I really want to try and find some Danish talent, but they're so expensive. It's just unaffordable. Even a half decent looking Danish prospect is like 2 million quid, which we just can't afford, even with structured deals. So without further ado, I think our best bet actually to start off things is just to go through and look at whose contracts are expiring and try to see if we can tie anybody down with the money that we've got. But I am concerned about that, but I do feel like some of them are going to need new deals. To give you an idea, this whole batch of players that you're seeing here, their contracts expire in 6 months, all the way down to like their end of the season. Now, a lot of these are younger players, so it's not as bad for us. We can certainly take a look at that as and when, but it is a real nasty situation with Jalonen as well, for crying out loud. Turnerson too. Lindstrom, obviously, his contract expires really, really soon, in literally like a couple of weeks. So I think the first thing we want to do is try to extend the contract of Lindstrom. We're going to lose Terry Rothwell as well, because he's going to bloody Mulder. No, but Lindstrom is available on a free transfer. And honestly, he's fantastic. Let's just see. He's on 4.2k a week at Bayern. He's being released by Bayern. I guarantee you he wouldn't want less than £13,000. Let's just see, though. What is the point? What is the actual point? So, no, in fact, his estimated wage is £16,000 to £21,000 a week. Wow. I mean, we are just screwed, aren't we? If this is the kind of financial situation that we can't compete. The ball won't let us compete. So, Nordic and Abid, what's the situation? We've tried this multiple times. He's always wanted absurd money. He's 3.9k a week is his current wage. He's 25, 10,500 quid. That's literally nearly treble your wage. A contract which is basically a year and a half as well. Like, that is ridiculous. The most I'm allowed to offer, by the way, is 6. To give you an idea. What the hell? Why is that so low now? That is also concerning. The fact that the board won't let me offer more than 6k a week to a player now, even though I've moved a load of wage money over. That's worrying. I could do that. It is a longer deal. It does drop his wage slightly, but it's so much money. The issue we've got is that if I let a player like him go, we may not be able to replace him immediately, and he does count for domestic registration rules, and that's super damn important. Even if I stack out with an international wage clause, he literally will not drop his wage demands below 10.25. I literally can't sign him. Okay, regular starter, I will play him with that, because that's where literally we're going to play him. 12 grand a week! I mean, we can't keep our players, friends. They want contracts that we can't and are not allowed to offer them, and that's kind of shit, isn't it? 12 grand a week, not only 12 grand a week, but basically for a 1-year extension. He wants me to double, not just double actually, nearly double his wages. What I do find odd though, is that I was able to offer more in wages before we got our transfer budgets, even though we didn't have a lot of money in our transfer budget then, and now we do, but I've got less wages to offer. It's like the board have capped it much lower than they did before. In fairness, it's only a 1-year extension though. That would actually keep him on the same wage at least, and would keep him here for another year until we have to deal with this a year from now, but I guess it's something, right? So basically, we've got our first proper scout report through. Now, obviously, I've been building these up for the past year, basically. Really since January, where we weren't able to do much business. I've just been getting more and more scout reports. Every time someone comes through that has 5 stars, send them back around for another week and just keep doing it. But you can really see where our issues lie here, because look at the prices on this guy here. He plays for Haugesund and is worth £37 million. And he's 16 in Norway. I mean, yeah, don't get me wrong. He's a decent player. 36 million? What? So I've managed to eliminate it down to just the players that are under, sort of within our price range type of thing. I mean, this guy really, these two aren't really, but maybe with the right amount of negotiation, it's possible. So there's this guy, Mario Matembu, who is at Golden Arrows in South Africa. Central midfielder, could play a bit further up. Now, the question is whether we'd actually be able to fit him in a squad. That becomes an issue there. But definitely, I think more information on him would be kind of good. Alex Warwick, I'd want to try it, just because I actually think he's a really solid left wing back. I mean, he's got good tackling, his dribbling's decent, his crossing's maybe not great, but he's got some okay mentals, decent physicals, reasonably quick. Trigger it and see what happens. There's this guy as well, João Victor of Man. Plays for Man. I actually don't know who this team is. Usually I can work it out, but is that Manute? Manaus? Oh, is that Manaus? It might be Manaus, Manute. I had a player called Manute once. Could be intriguing. If he's as cheap as he looks. And he'd be homegrown talent. Oh, no, he wouldn't. Bugger me. I kind of want to take a punt on this guy, particularly at 20,000 quid. That's the kind of signings we need to be making. There is this guy here, Stephen Okoye, who is a Manchester United player. He's going to be released by them. He's solid as a rock. He can play in all 3 of these positions. Can't really finish that. Well, we don't know. It could be as high as 11, actually, as it goes. I do wonder if a free transfer signing of someone like this might not be the worst idea, but it would depend heavily on his wages again. But he is English, so that would at least give us a bit of wiggle room. What's my limit like? Wait, hang on. Why can I offer him 18,000 quid, but I can't offer... I'm allowed to offer players large contracts, but I'm not allowed to offer large contract extensions for some reason. It's like the board are tying it based on the current wage the player is on. And actually, not a bad piece of business strategy there. Just shows how dumb their demands are. So I actually can offer big wages. I just can't offer them to the existing players at the club. Sensible move. 5-year deal on $5 grand a week. It would cover off the Lindstrom loss. It would also equalise out because of the foreign player situation. He could play more positions than Oscar Lindstrom, and I've kind of liked him from the moment I saw him. And on a free transfer, it really does feel like these are the kind of... There's obviously the international appearance thing. Hopefully he stays English this entire time, and we won't have to worry about that, but there is always that little worry in the background. But it's there, and we've got to take advantage of it, given how little we have to work with. There's this guy here, Wilson Bayao. My apologies for the surname. Bayao? There's a lot of vowels, all right, Wilson? He's a very interesting player. He's got some really nice attributes. I'm going to scout him further, but he's very surprisingly cheap at the moment and weirdly not wanted by anybody. Now, his wages could be absurd, but he certainly wouldn't be one... He'd be a player to keep an eye on, potentially. Maybe. I don't know. We've actually maybe found some guys, though. That could be helpful. He just ain't gonna... Look, 12 grand a week? Not happening. 14,000 a week? Yeah. No, can't offer you that. And he's American international, so I can't do anything with wages. It's not worth it when we already have Terry Clote there. If he was on the right side, I'd maybe be considering it. Joao Victor, on the other hand, despite us knowing very little about him, he's very cheap, and his wages are very cheap too. And that alone makes me want to try and pick him up, honestly. £1,000 a week, 4-year contract, 3-year extension. These are the things you like to see that we don't get a chance to do very often on this save, so it's there. Joao Victor, maybe he could be the right back for us this season. I don't know. Oh, this is going to be a really tough window. I'm kind of looking forward to the challenge, of course, and it does feel a bit better now we found a few guys, but we'll see. So yeah, they are now allowing me to offer proper wages to the players, which is annoying because now that I've upset players by not being able to offer them the correct wages and... yeah, I think it's because the relegation playoff or the European playoff hadn't happened or something. Really dumb. But yeah, so Steenberg Johansson, still, even he wants me to nearly double his wages for an impact sub. Okay, I've been able to leverage it a little bit. It's a tiny wage bump for him, but it's also a long-term deal. And it's just, I want to have someone like him tied down because he's reliable and he can do a job when we need him to. It's just not ideal. The yearly wage rise I could have done without, honestly. Not being funny, right? James Gomez is available for loan from Brun, but he is a Danish-trained player, incredibly, because he was at AC Horsens for 5 years. And obviously we had him at Tromsø. We know of his quality. He's still, amazingly, because of his natural fitness, basically maintained most of his physical attributes. He's a solid centre-back. We wouldn't have to pay his full wage either. There's an optional future fee of 80 grand. Obviously, I wouldn't trigger that probably. But for £1,600 a week for a season, he could be an option for us, genuinely. I was able to offer René Ilse a new deal. It is a bit of a longer one. It does have a huge wage clause on it, but that's for international football, and he showed no signs of getting a cap so far, and I really don't think he ever will for Denmark, which is a good sign. He's 28 now. It's a little bit of a bump in wage by about 1,000, but I just think that we need to tie this guy down because he's another Danish player. I'm a little bit less worried about losing Christopher Carlson, but we'll see what happens when we can actually offer him a contract again, if we can get that wage down a little bit and just have to tie it in with clauses again. It's a very dangerous game to play, I realise, but at this point, we really have very little choice when trying to keep hold of players. But keeping hold of Danish players is really, really important, and Ilse is one of them. And if we can have him and Joao Victor on the right, it would at least give us a bit more depth there. We do need depth. Never underestimate the importance of this specific news article. It will sometimes alert you to players that will fit your team perfectly that you haven't even scouted properly yourself, or maybe have scouted one time but forgotten about, and it's so damn important to pay attention to it. Now, it could be crap. It could be loads of players we can't afford. Fran Prescott is the next one, who plays for Bromley. He plays for Bromley. He's at Bromley. What league are they in? The National League. Can we talk about... Hang on, sorry, what? I want to talk about how Bromley were in League One. Can we talk about how Bromley were in League One? What is going on here? Bromley, I'm just looking through Jason Nightbridge to find out how they actually went, because we obviously don't have the league switched on. They were National League, then League 2, 2 years in League 2, promoted to League 1, did 2 seasons in League 1, another back in the National League again. The fact that Bromley got to League 1, though, that's kind of mental. He's he's on stupid money at Espanyol, but he's also Andorran. 81 caps and 20 international goals for Andorra. He's fine. His attributes are fine. He'll slot into our team relatively nicely. He'll give us more defensive backup, and we do need that. When we're playing 3 defenders this season, we need to be able to rotate around a little bit. As for the signings that have joined us beyond that, we've got Williams and Victor. I'm extremely excited to see what Victor's like. You know what? Tackling is not good, but he's got very high determination. He's 18. He's homegrown. He's homegrown by a single day. He signed for us at 18 years old, which means he technically will be able to be a homegrown player for Denmark. That is amazing. I was expecting him to join at the end of the month, after the end of June, but because he's joined on the 15th of June, because of, restrictions and stuff, he's got there 1 day before his 19th birthday, and thus he will count as a homegrown player. I'm fairly certain that's the case. His tackling isn't great, as we can tell. I'll get him working on some defensive positioning stuff to really work on that, but I think there's an option to go forward there. I really do quite like Joao Victor, and I think there's a good player there. For £20,000, I think we've done good business on that one, and I like his personality. He's got high determination too, things I really like on a player. And we've drawn Motherwell in the Champions League qualifiers. Yes, it was. Arguably, no offense Motherwell fans, arguably, maybe with Osijek, the weakest side in the tournament at the current stage. We only have to get to the third qualifying round. Well, for the board's happiness. Obviously, I want to go as far as possible. But, and I think one more, if we get through here, it would guarantee group stages of, I think it would actually guarantee Europa League group stages, in fairness, because it's that double drop down. So that's a really good sign for us. So there we go. Nordic is leaving. He's going to Benfica. £15,000 a week. Couldn't really do much about that, honestly. It's a shame that we couldn't get any money for him, but that's just life, isn't it? Unfortunately, he's gone. But that frees up space in our squad. We can at least offer him a contract, but we also can't afford to offer him a contract. Yeah, I just want to see. Man wants £18,000 a week. Yeah, no. Things are getting worse. Oscar Lindstrom has been offered a contract by FC Copenhagen. He wanted £18,000 to join us. I am very curious to see what they are able to offer him here. This is a worrying turn of events, but there's nothing we can do about it. I couldn't offer him 18,000 quid a week. In other excellent news, I still can't offer a contract to Christopher Carlson yet, because I do want to try and sign him up. Problem is, we're getting closer and closer to the point where he can actually start talking to other clubs now, because of the previous talks breaking down because of the board's weird contract requirements. Now, we can offer him the money, but I have to wait for a certain amount of time to elapse before I actually can offer him the deal, and we're running out of time fast. Do you know what? And as a deep lying forward too, I like. Simply for the fact that he's not on massive wages, comparatively speaking. He can cover 3 different positions in this team. Deep lying forward, just in case we did lose someone like Carlson, because he does have great passing and vision. His finishing isn't really there, but his composure's all right. Not the quickest, but that's fine. Plays 1-2s, which is really nice as well. He's a star player for this level. Shows you the quality we do have here. Could play deeper as well if we needed him to. Could play in here. I like the versatility of the man. I think he's a really strong signing for this club, and he does certainly fill a gap. And on a free transfer, we needed signings like this. And he's got a nice long contract too, which is really, really important. I still can't offer Carlson the deal, though. That's everybody. We've been able to register every single player for our domestic squad. I think it's just because of the ages of some of the guys as well, but that's really, really helpful that every single player we want this season is able to be registered for the squad, for the league at least, which is super duper important. Europe might be a slightly different matter, but at the very least, being able to register everybody that we've got currently, and more importantly, technically, I mean, we technically don't have any more spots, but we can always shuffle things around. I think some players are registered that maybe don't need to be. Warwick, the guy we were looking at Atlanta United, is now up for a contract on a free transfer, as is Thomas Christensen, the guy we were looking at FC Copenhagen. 1.4k a week on a 7-year potential contract. That is, if we sneak him out from underneath the nose of FC Copenhagen, I'd be very, very pleased with that. Danish homegrown, lovely. Isaiah Essiam, who was released by FC Copenhagen. Striker, basically. Good finishing. Pacey. Not got the best acceleration, but he's a pacey striker. Composure could be all over the shop. We'll find out. There's one other guy, though, and that is this man here. This is Miguel Araus, who is he's a right wing back / could even do a job at left wing back too. He's quick, he's got good crossing, he can't tackle, but he's got good passing, he's got good mental attributes. It's go time. Carlson has finally talked to me the first time. I think it's a full month has elapsed now since we had that proper falling out with his agent. No other club has put a bid in yet. Hammarby are interested, so I need to get this right because I do want to sign up Carlson for long term. We kind of have to at this point. The man, we can leverage the fact that he's got no Swedish caps. I think Carlson's so important to this team that we have to try and tie him down. I think he's almost like a signing, honestly. Okay, regular starter, deep line forward. We know that he'll play there. Please don't want like 15 grand a week now. Oh, he's actually put his wages up, and it's a 1-year deal. Well, it's a 1-year deal. That is absolutely ridiculous. It just ties a really strong striker down, and we can afford them. We actually can afford to do this now. I just didn't really want to have to, but they've really bent us over a barrel here, but I need Carlson. Breakthrough prospect. Wow, that's really low. That's really low. Holy God, what? Sorry, his wage is so low. If I could sneak him out for £700 a week, I think he's worth the deal, honestly. I wasn't expecting his wage to be that low. I thought it'd be like £4,000 or £5,000 a week, but at £700, we have to do it. And this is him. This is Bruno Gomes. He was released by Sporting after 18 years at the club. I think he's absolutely fantastic. And I have already put a bid in on this guy on a free transfer to sign him up for, I think, £9,000 a week on a 2-year contract. So because he's 31, I'd like to think that he's the kind of player that we can maybe flip in a year and at least get a little bit of cash. And if nothing else, the fact is the guy's a model citizen. He has fantastic physicals, fantastic mentals, wonderful technical ability as well. I just think he gives us a little bit of something different in that midfield potentially. And I really do like this guy. And I feel like he might be the final piece of the puzzle because we do have one spare slot for a foreign player. And if it's going to be someone of quality, it may as well be this guy and really pack out our midfield with actual depth for finally get some actual depth and sneak this guy out of the noses of other teams because we're losing out on a lot of other guys to other clubs, and I think this might be the final piece of the puzzle, and I think the wages wouldn't stretch much further than that, although we do have the transfer budget potentially. Good news! So we're finally wrapping things up here. Isaiah Sem has joined us for £700 a week. I actually think he's a good piece of business. I think he's a solid player. Good finishing, speed, composure lacks a lot, so we'll get him working on the mentals, maybe his final third. But other than that, he's actually all right. Likes to run the goalkeeper too, which would be really helpful. And a better loser alongside that, Bruno Gomes has also joined us. The man, I mean, he's worth £4 million. If we could sell this guy in like a year maybe and just earn like 3 million quid out of it, that would be worth the deal alone. He's on a decent whack of change, but I think he's a really good player to have in this team. Does have comes deep to get ball, dictates tempo. Even if he is still going to play as a CMA, we've still noticed that players just seem to perform well in this role no matter what. I think just his other attributes for this role really do suit him, and I think he could be a very creative player in this team, which we are. I've been able to get him in by taking out Rechiuti, and obviously SEM doesn't have to be registered, so as far as domestically goes, we are in good shape. I love that Terry Clouthier is considered the best player at the club now. That's the quality that we've got in him. So Lindstrom's joined Benfica, £12,000 a week on a squad player status. Kind of annoying, honestly, when we were actually... I would have potentially offered him that wage on a higher squad status, but that's just how agents be, isn't it? It's a shame because we have lost a very good striker in him. He scored 14 goals for us in the league last season alone, so he was a fantastic option, and it's a shame to lose him. But we do still have Okoye. Yes, we have. Sorry, we've spent a grand total of £33,000 on the signings, but I think this was the way we had to go, really. Last year, we spent a bit more money on overall transfer fees. This time around, we've been able to do a bit more bargain shopping, and I still think we've strengthened this squad really, really well. But with the likes of Rothwell leaving and Abid, it's still not great, but it does feel better when you look at the likes of the fact that we do have Frankie Williams in there. We've got Okoye that can cover multiple roles. Gomez in there too, so it definitely is a better team, I think, than it was. And that's something, right? That's all we can be hopeful for, because we have Nordland in 3 days' time to test this squad out. So as far as Europe goes, unfortunately, the only player we were unable to register was Steenberg Johansson, and that's a shame, because I did want him in this squad. Hopefully he won't care for this one round, and we can try and reassess maybe someone to take out to try to bring him in. It would just be very difficult to pick who that would be at this point. Hopefully he won't throw up a fuss. So all in all, I'm actually pretty pleased with that. I think we'll know a bit more once we actually see what the team looks like going into this first match day of the season, but I think we've done a pretty good job with considering what we had to work with. I felt this was always going to be a tough window for us, given the sheer amount of money, or lack thereof, really, in the grand scheme of things that we had to invest. We've mostly had to dump a lot of it into wages, and that was always going to happen. We're still actually the 4th highest wage spender in the league, which just shows you the difference, though. We spend like, I think it's 1/6 of the money that FC Copenhagen spend. At least Lindstrom didn't go there. I guess we've got that on our side. I think this season is going to be massive for us, though, because if we can have any success, and God forbid, given how good this tactic seems to work in Europe, we could somehow manage to get ourselves into the group stages of the Champions League. That right there could be a game changer. But at the very least, group stages of the Europa League is a must for us this year. The money that we get from that, the chance to build, is so damn important for us, whilst just maintaining ourselves in the league. I still think we're good enough to go top 3 again, and I don't think we're going to be posing much of a challenge to FCK this year, but that's really not our plan. We have to build the funds and then do a charge for them. That seems to be the only way you can overthrow these hegemonies, because if we concentrate on league fixtures, we will just tread water forever. So, let's see what my assistant's fancying for this one. Carlson and Pritchard is fine by me. Ibule, Williams, Yallen and Klossy, Ilsa, Jokanovic, Debelda, Turnus and Carone. Okay, that's fine. But then you look to our bench, and this is where it does start to look a lot better for me. Obviously, we can't have Gomez on the bench here because Shusmo has to be in the team. But I really do like this bench. John Diaz, really capable as a defender, could even play in midfield. Bruno Gomez is insane, so we need him around the club as well, which is awesome to have. Berger Hansen's there too. Gorda can do a bit of backup. Silla's in there. Okoye. There's some real quality in this team now that I feel like is going to give us the depth that we need to take on all comers this season. That's my hope anyway. So we'll have to see. But look at this front 5. There's real quality in there. And the back line isn't that much worse either. Now, where's Joao Victor? Quite like to have Joao Victor on the bench rather than Gorda, if anything. Just, although it really does... Yeah, that's fine, just so we can bring him on for Ilsa. I've got Joe Pritchard working on quickness training as well to try and boost his speed a little bit. I think someone pointed this out, that Joe Pritchard loves big matches and relishes them. And I do wonder if you get like a negative, like a nerf on non-big matches. I think that would be silly if that was the case. I think maybe there's just an element of... I don't know what it is. Hopefully this year we'll see a little bit more out of our strikers. Maybe the chances will be better. I don't know. I'm hoping, though. I have high hopes for this performance from us, really. I don't know how... I mean, we won away at Nordsjælland on the final day of last season, so this will be an interesting test for us. Now, the scenarios are completely different. The squads are completely different. There's a lot different things to play for. But it's weird, actually, how few of the newbies are actually slotted straight into our first team. But that's fine, honestly. Not everyone needs to be able to make an impact from the starting 11 immediately. The fact is, we've now got way more options off the bench, and I feel like I can look to that bench now and have plenty of players there that I'd be more than happy to bring into this lineup immediately, and that really is a good sign for us. I'm also level with you. It is currently 33 degrees in this room at the moment, and it is, I'm feeling every little bit of it, to be fair. I would love to be in Denmark right now. I know that it's not exactly the most northerly place in Europe, but for crying out loud, it must be cooler than it is here right now. Pedersen's through for Nordsjælland, and it's 1-0 to them. Sebastian Pedersen Pedersen gets a goal after half an hour. That is not what we wanted here. Ilsa and Jukanovic doing well, but not well enough on that one. And that really set us up. It gave us such a nice platform to build on. Clote's blocked shot, actually. Carlson could get us back to him here. Oh, loads of room for Clote. Williams, it's a good save. I think we can consider ourselves a little bit unfortunate to be behind in this one. It's been a very even first half. And what? No, what are you doing, Sylvan? Okay, calm it down. You've got away with them one there, buddy. Firing one over the top for Terry Clote. I don't know if he's going to... Of course he is. It's Terry. This man is unbelievable. Holding on to him is more important than anything else as Carlson's header is over the bar. We are wasting opportunities to create chances today. We keep winning the ball off Nordsjælland in good positions and then failing to pick the correct pass. Husby now, out on the left. He's got space inside for... Well, half time, and actually we got worse as the half's gone on. We need to kick up the arse in the second half, and I'm going to go to plan B, I suppose, for that. Hopefully, we can engage the afterburners in the second half and actually find a bit of quality, because so far it's been very, very much lacking in this game. Very few chances, honestly. Just the passing's been appalling. Every time we try to play a pass that looks like it's going to be incisive, it's just horribly misplaced. All these players that have got outrageous passing are just failing to find any targets at the moment. Plough down the left-hand side. Whips it all the way across. This should be a relatively straightforward save for Corona, and it is, but I'm not seeing anything out of us at all. Changes needed to, I think. I had nothing. I've thrown a load of dice on, rolled the dice on some players, but again, every pass is just massively overhit, massively misplaced. This is hopefully not a sign of things to come for us this season, because it doesn't feel like us, as Pedersen's now through, and it's 2-0 and completely deserved. We're playing like crap. This is the worst performance I think I've seen out of us since probably the first game against Nordsjælland last season, as it goes. Okoye. Berger Hansen. Around the side for Christopher Carlson! What a stop. The first opening in the whole second half there. Well saved by Anderson. At least it was a chance. I mean, what are we doing here? This team, Matt, I don't have a clue what we were even trying to do there. Like, Gomez receives the ball here. He can look forward. He can look anywhere. Instead, he chooses to pass back to the defender, who just aimlessly lumps the ball straight to an Nordsjælland player again. This has just turned out to be a nightmare. I know we had a weird result against FC Nordsjælland in this exact fixture last year, too, with the exact same scoreline as well, and there's the final whistle. But that is an embarrassing one for my liking. Like, when you look at this match stats, it doesn't really look like it's a 3-0 match, but it is a 3-0 match. We've been dreadful. Goalkeeping as well. Corone really couldn't do much about the goals, honestly. It's just a frustrating one. Maybe we're going to get the pendulum swinging back the other way from a defensive standpoint this season. Hopefully not. And let's face it, it won't be balanced out with us scoring any more goals. It's one game. But when you see how well we started last season and we won all 6 matches towards the start, that is a worrying beginning. You want to get off on the right foot, and bottom of the league is not the right foot. I still think there's plenty of positives to be taken from the players we've signed. It's just going to take us a while to get these guys bedded in. Hopefully we can get this sorted very soon, though, particularly before we have to play against FC Copenhagen. Let's just go out in the next round and win 4-0 against Motherwell or something now, though, because that's just how things work. Anyway, if you have enjoyed this, and I hope you have, despite my sweaty mess of a human being right now, drop a like, that would be lovely. If you're new to the channel, subscribe, that'd be sick too. I'll stream on Twitch Tuesdays, Thursdays, Saturdays, well, except not this Saturday. We'll be back next week, though. And yeah, I'll see you guys very, very soon. Hold your gun, capybara. God, I can finally open a window. I'll see you soon. Bye-bye.